Welcome back, friends. Video not coming in on Saturday morning? A prediction video not coming in Saturday morning, hours before the fights? Yes, indeed. I'm assuming this video will be out Wednesday night, if not by Thursday morning. God bless. Now I've jinxed it already. But without further ado, a rare teensy Smokey hours UFC prediction video. Picks and prediction video. UFC Fight Night, Perez versus Taira, Alex Perez versus Tatsuo Taira. Should be a good main event, a big test for both dudes. There are some interesting matchups here, some spooky hours matchups. I'm just about to get right into it, honestly, with the first prelim fight of Shayilan Nuerdanbieke versus Melquizael Costa, Melk Coffee. Now, Melquizael Costa was actually a dude that a lot of people hyped up for a while because he actually looked really good until he ran into a man by the name of Steve Garcia, who I picked to smoke on his pack, and he did. Now, Shayilan Nuerdanbieke has also been put in a pack by the same man, Steve Garcia. However, if I remember correctly, I might be remembering incorrectly, Shayilan Nuerdanbieke was putting on a way better fight than Melquizael Costa. I think Shayilan was actually winning the fight, and then he got ripped to the body or something. That might even be Melquizael Costa I'm thinking of. But I think Shayilan had, cut open Steve Garcia, low-key kind of bad, but Steve, ripped into the body and finished him. Fantastic finish. Enough about Steve Garcia. Back to the dudes that are fighting. I like Shayilan Nuerdanbieke in this one. Melquizael, I think, has taken a big hit to his stock. He's still good, still dangerous, but he's also moving down in weight. That was something I actually wanted to talk about. He's moving down in weight from 155, where he fought Steve Garcia, down to 145, calmly. I do think that Shayilan should be better than him. I'm trusting that Shayilan won't get just murked instantly. Both of these dudes are actually crazy veterans, especially Melquizael Costa, 27 years old, has 27 professional fights. That's decent. Shayilan, 30 years old, has 50 professional fights. You know, this one is a tough one, but I am going with Nuerdanbieke very calmly. Moving on to a fight that I'm not familiar with either fighter, particularly Julia Polastri versus Josefine Knutsson. I'm going with Josefine Knutsson. I'm going based off of physicality, physical build. Josefine Knutsson, actually, from what I've seen, like I said, I'm not familiar with her. I just saw a teensy bit of footage. She does actually seem to have very valid technique. Again, maybe has the problem of not letting it go enough, but that's something that can be fixed. Both these fighters relatively young. Josephine, 28 years old. Julia's 26. Julia Polastri is coming into this fight with a 12-3 professional record, making her UFC debut. Knutsson is a 7-0 professional fighter with 1 win and no losses in the UFC. A little bit of a size advantage, or a reach advantage, I should say, for Julia. And Julia, from what I read, it has some grappling skill, but I think that Josephine is competent enough not to get tapped by Julia Polastri and win this fight calmly by decision, I would assume. Moving on to the first this is kind of spooky hours. It's more so just an extremely interesting matchup because this fight could go really, either dude could win this fight by finish. A lot of people are counting out Weston Wilson in this fight versus Jeka Saragih. I am picking Jeka Saragih, but Weston Wilson does not have an impossible Hail Mary chance to win. Weston Wilson, we've seen him when he goes against high-caliber strikers, or even just extremely aggressive and powerful strikers, he usually gets folded. People will violate him. I've seen Weston Wilson when he was on the come-up also KO some dudes, but it's not the same. Weston Wilson is much more of a grappler. Also, Weston Wilson, man, the counter to all of that, though, right? Weston Wilson getting one shot, Weston Wilson not being able to stand on the feet, especially with a powerful dude like Jeka Saragih. Jeka Saragih is roughly, he's around white belt level. In reality, he is legit, in mixed martial arts grappling, he's a white belt, for real. It's very spooky, man. Both of these dudes are victims in the other one's respective game. If anybody shoots a takedown, Weston Wilson might win this fight. There's a decent chance that Weston Wilson will win this fight regardless of who shoots a takedown, just if a takedown is shot. If no takedown is shot, I'm assuming Jeka Saragih is going to mollywop Weston Wilson. But this could be an upset. This could be a brutal upset. Jeka Saragih has looked good, but really, I think it was Anshul Jubli who was violating him on the ground a little bit. Like, it's tough, and we saw what happened to Anshul Jubli. Dude quit. It's rough, but Jeka Saragih is the pick. Man, where's the rare hat? Haven't made the video on the rare hats yet, but if you know, you know. He is the pick. Moving on to another fight that's interesting, man, and I've actually switched back and forth on this one. Ultimately, when it comes down to Carly Judice versus Gabriela Fernandez, I got to go with Gabriela Fernandez, and this is why. Carly Judice, I loved what I saw from the tape that I saw. Granted, it's not against extremely high-level competition, and she actually lost her Dana White Contender Series fight to Ernesta Karakage, or Karakady, however you pronounce her name, who then lost to Dione Barbosa. Now, Carly, when you watch her fight, she's impressive, but she's fighting like 35 to 40-year-old women who are also like have like less than 5 fights. Like, it's not good. Like, making her UFC debut with 4 professional fights. She did have an amateur career, and she was undefeated in her amateur career with 2 TKO victories out of 4 total victories. Young at 25 years old and has some size, 5'7", 68-inch reach. But Gabriela Fernandez has been fighting at a higher level just for longer. Also, Carly Judice, I can't speak to her grappling. Her gym is called Head Kicks MMA, and she won her debut against like a 37-year-old woman by head kick who was 1-8, but at the time. Other than that, I don't know about many head kicks. I have seen her land a head kick here and there, and she does have a lot of speed, and power comes naturally with that because she is kind of accurate as well, Carly Judice. Gabriela Fernandez throws a little slower, but she is also very powerful, and she has a ground game somewhat. I wouldn't be surprised if Carly Judice is just able to outspeed and just straight up beat Gabriela Fernandez to the punches, to the jabs, and is able to work the fight in her way based off that. But if Gabriela just takes her down, I could see her submitting her. I could see Gabriela Fernandez winning. This one is also kind of a strange fight because 4-0 professional making their UFC debut lost their Contender Series fight versus 8-3, someone who's 0-2 in the UFC. It's spooky, man. Gabriela Fernandez is notably older at 30 years old, but that's not too crazy. Moving on to Garrett Armfield versus Brady Hiestand. Like I said, Gabriela Fernandez was the pick in that one. Garrett Armfield is my pick versus Brady Bam Bam Hiestand. I kind of like Brady Hiestand. I also do like Garrett Armfield, though. I picked Garrett Armfield mainly based off principle to beat Brad Katona. He beat Brad Katona. And he looked decent doing it, actually, which is good. He looked decent doing it. I like Garrett has sometimes a little bit of explosiveness, a little bit of aggression with the striking. I really do like that, and he can fall back onto the grappling. Brady Hiestand, I don't want to say kind of similar, because he really isn't too similar, but again, an entertaining style. Young dude, super young dude, 25 years old. I like Garrett Armfield in this one, man. I think if someone's going to control the fight, it will probably be Garrett Armfield, although Brady Hiestand could finish Garrett Armfield. We'll just have to see. Again, kind of an interesting matchup with that one. Not the craziest shit, but that Garrett Armfield versus Brady Hiestand has a potential to be fight of the night on some crazy shit. They might just go buck wild, like land at a 20% accuracy, striking accuracy, but fuck it, like swing ridiculously. Moving on to a flyweight bout, Nate Maness versus Jimmy the Brick Flick. Man, last time we saw Jimmy Flick on this channel, he was fighting Malcolm Gordon. I picked Malcolm Gordon to win that fight, and he almost did until he basically got Jimmy Flicked. Like, that's what we might as well call it at this point. And I'm just going to repeat what I said back then. I'm going with Nate Maness, excuse me. But back to what I was saying about that. Jimmy Flick ultimately has to be respected on the ground. He's not the most, like, dominant, guy, Jimmy Flick. He's not going to dominate the fight. But his bread and butter is actual opportunism. If there's an opportunity to snatch up a submission on the ground, make something out of a bad position, Jimmy Flick is one of the guys that can actually do it. Low-key, he really can. It's spooky, man. It's spooky, but the downside to Jimmy Flick's game is that if he does not do that, if he doesn't find that opportunity, usually he gets finished. Now, he doesn't give up. I will give Jimmy Flick that. He doesn't give up, has heart, and he has to be respected on the ground. Nate Maness, I'm expecting him to kind of walk through Jimmy Flick. Excuse me. I'm expecting him to walk through Jimmy Flick a bit. Bigger dude. Younger even. More successful in his career. Way better night and day in terms of striking. Again, a bit of an interesting matchup because it's like they want Jimmy Flick to either get that wild sub or to see him get knocked out crazily, but we'll take it. Nate Maness, we move on to a great matchup, actually, albeit maybe a little bit early, as people are saying on Tapology, and I kind of agree. Tagir Ulanbekov. Again, this is one of the dudes who I'm not at the level of making principled picks against him because he actually is kind of nice. He really is kind of nice. But I'm preying on Tagir Ulanbekov's downfall. Again, a fight that I've kind of gone back and forth. I initially picked Joshua Van. I low-key think I'm going to stick with Joshua Van for this one. Why? Is because I had picked, this was before the Tagir hate, I had picked Cody Durden, actually. One of the thumbnails in my video is a direct hate, thing to fucking, it's me saying, let's kill Tagir Ulanbekov. One of my first videos, one of my first pick videos, I should say. Tagir Ulanbekov versus Cody Durden. Hope I'm not misremembering his name. I'm pretty sure it's Cody Durden. A very interesting fight, man. Cody Durden was a big underdog in that fight. I had picked him because I thought Cody Durden had the dog in him, which he kind of does, man. And the problem was Tagir Ulanbekov is he's actually nice when it comes to grappling. And he's willing to fucking cheat. That's the thing. That man grabbed the cage with his hands and fucking feet so many times. I remember one sequence particularly. It was like one of the nastiest, slickest back takes I'd ever seen. This man, Tagir Ulanbekov, just literally slipped around and took Cody Durden's back. Cody almost shucked him off, and fucking Tagir used his toes, latched on into the cage, and then eventually he found a rear naked choke finish. And I was just like, what the fuck, man? Like, because he did it multiple times in that fight, man. Like, granted, he probably subs Cody Durden, but also, Cody Durden was finding the chin of Tagir Ulanbekov. If I remember correctly, he dropped him at one point. It was a crazy moment. That was a good fight, man. I was very salty because I feel like Tagir cheated a shit ton during that fight and got away completely scot-free. My memory might be clouded. I might be just coping ridiculously. I might be smoking on crazy copium, but that's how I remember it. I say all that to say this. Joshua Van, legitimate young prospect, man. I have loved what I've seen from Joshua Van. As you might have heard from other people, Joshua Van has a tendency to lose the first round of whatever fight that he's in and come back after that. But Joshua Van, man, he improved so much between fights. I'm very excited to see him come out this time. I think if someone's going to put Tagir Ulanbekov away, I'm not even talking about, slowly build up the striking, get it to flow over 3 rounds and be able to take a decision. I'm talking about, you work combos together until one of them is a finishing sequence. I think Joshua Van can do that, actually. I'm not going to lie. I think Joshua Van can do that. I think Tagir Ulanbekov maybe riding high, he's cut down dudes in his path. I think it's time. I think it's time that we see Tagir Ulanbekov get sent to hell. I'm going with Joshua Van by KO TKO. And it's spooky hours. Moving on. Tatum Fugitive versus Josh Quinlan. Josh Quinlan, last time we saw him on this channel was when he was fighting Danny Barlow. And I just made it a little bit more aware. You might not have known. You might have known already. Josh Quinlan, after winning his either UFC debut or his Dana White Contender Series fight, immediately popped for roids. Like the straight roids, too. And it's kind of evident if you watch him. Josh Quinlan... And the roid power never left. I want to say that too. Josh Quinlan's roid power never left. He still has it to this day. Danny Barlow still knocked his bum ass out. But he still has it to this day. Josh Quinlan has monstrous power. And he does have a bit of a chin. There's a little asterisk on that. We have to see if the chin is going to hold up because he took decent damage from Danny Barlow. Josh Quinlan has monstrous power, and he'll bite down on the mouthpiece and go for it and try to take your head off, and it works sometimes. It might even work against a dude like Adam Fugit. I think Adam Fugit is way better technically. He is a way more skilled fighter. I think if he grapples and he uses his skills to the fullest of their abilities, Adam Fugit can get this one done by calm, unanimous decision. You know, not lay and pray, but calm, unanimous decision. Maybe even a submission or TKO by ground and pound type shit. There is a big chance that if Josh Quinlan can land something mean, something very mean and very flush, this fight is over. That has to be remembered. But I'm backing Adam Fugit. Low-key got faith in Adam Fugit, actually. I think a lot of people are backing Josh Quinlan for this one, and I understand why. Like I said, massive power. He's willing to bite down, and he can't take your head off. But I think Josh Quinlan's best days are behind him, so to speak, you know. Still has the roid strength, but fall from grace here. Moving on to a flyweight bout. Asu Almabayev versus Jose Johnson, the massive weight bully. Somehow moving down in weight from bantamweight to fucking flyweight, even though he is 6 feet tall. And that is going to be a chunk of the, just a chunk of the foundation of this pick. I'm going with Asu Almabayev to win this one by decision, but honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if we do get a random KO TKO, because this is a massive fucking weight cut. I don't even know how this guy's going to make it. Jose Johnson, that is. Jose Johnson's alright, man, too. But Asu Almabayev is nice. God, man, it's more than a chunk. The massive weight cut, and I also think this fight is on short notice. I might be confusing it with another fight. That's why I'm going with Asu Almabayev, honestly. Pretty simple. That's it. Good faith. Also, something to note, if you've been wondering here about maybe lack of insight or more technical breakdowns, I've kind of redone my entire pick method. Before, when I was doing a fuck ton of research, we got to bring it back even further. Before I even started making pick videos, I would do kind of mainly gut and already obtained knowledge. Whatever I know about the dudes in my gut, that's what I would go with. And that was actually pretty decent, honestly. Then I started making pick videos, and I started doing more and more research, and I felt like I'm doing worse and worse with the picks. Like, I'm overthinking things. I'm, like, giving people too much credit, taking too much away from them. You know, it's tough, man. Sometimes flukes happen, and then that just discourages you entirely from doing research. Like, say all that to say this. I've decided to go kind of back to mainly going off of my prior knowledge, having watched the sport now for years, and eye test, you know, vibe, general gut feeling, with a little bit of research now. I don't just do nothing, but I do a tiny bit of research as well, still a little bit. I don't watch nearly as much footage as I used to, because that was unholy, but I am still researching these fights. Tangent over. Moving on. Miles Johns versus Douglas Da Silva de Andrade. Interesting matchup. I see some people picking Miles Johns. I don't know why. I really don't know why, bro. After that Cody Gibson fight, like, I don't give a fuck that he won. I picked fucking Miles Johns to win that fight, by the way. He looked so bad. So fucking bad. So bad, man. Dog shit fighter. As Canelo would say, horrible fighter. You're a horrible fighter. Horrible fighter. No, I'm joking, Miles Johns, but not really joking. But there's a little truth in every joke, you know what they say. Douglas Da Silva de Andrade never gives up on fights. He has slowed down because of his age. You know, he's 38 years old, especially at bantamweight at the lower weight classes. That does take a toll. However, he's still very dangerous. If you are caught sleeping, he will finish you through sub or by club, essentially. He will. I'm kind of expecting Douglas Da Silva de Andrade maybe not to finish Miles Johns, but to just be much better than Miles Johns and control this fight to a calm, unanimous decision. Moving on to a fight that I'm just like... I'm preparing myself for, like, not a fluke per se. I'm just preparing myself, prepare to cope. Prepare to cope. I'm hoping, but I'm prepared to cope. That fight being Lucas Almeida versus Timmy Kwamba. I'm picking Timmy Kwamba. Timmy Kwamba had a very, very good short notice debut versus Balaji Oki, who was kind of touted coming in as a possible legitimate prospect. Even though Timmy Kwamba lost that fight, he put up a great fight. Earned a lot of respect. Lucas Almeida, on the other hand, I liked him, and I picked him to beat Andre Fili, which was his last fight. He got brutally knocked out in the first round. Now, I liked Lucas Almeida because when I saw him fight dudes like Trizano, even though Trizano's not that good, and that was a very close fight themselves, both dudes, that was a war, actually. Lucas Almeida, I saw hunger in him. You know, he fought hungry, and he looked decent. He looked decent. You know, strong hands, a little sloppy, but strong hands, and he's hungry, man. So that's good. I can take you places. When he fought Andre Fili, he was so fucking stiff, like straight up, and then he got rocked with massive hooks, man, and it was so painful. I told myself never again. I don't think that at 33 years old, 3 fights into the UFC, 17 pro fights overall, not including amateur, you're going to make that change. I don't think that you can make that change, or that you're going to make that change, I should say. Timmy Kwamba, 25 years old, you know, 8-2, 0-1 in the UFC, but we saw that. That was a good fight. I'll take a chance on Timmy Kwamba. Simple as it is. Moving on. And this is funny, right? That's the featured fight on this card. Fucking Lucas Almeida versus Andre Fili, I think, might have been the early prelim opener of... I want to say, this might be wrong, I want to say it was Leon Edwards versus Colby Covington. I want to say that was the card. It might not have been that card, but I want to say it was that card. Might be mistaken on that. Either way, I know that Lucas Almeida versus Andre Fili was super fucking low in the prelims. Like, super early in the prelims, and now he's on the featured fight. After getting knocked out. It's funny. All you need to do sometimes is get knocked the fuck out, and you'll you'll go up there. Hey. Moving on to the co-main event, Ikram Aliskerov versus Antonio Trocoli. Now, Antonio Trocoli, it's questionable that he is in the UFC. I think he's a bit of a bum. He's moving down from light heavyweight to middleweight. I think Ikram is going to murder this dude. Like, his record is not impressive at all. It's not something that would seem to be UFC caliber. Dude lost his Dana White Contender Series fight. 3 in a row loss streak in the middle of his career. Actually, somewhat recently. I do get picking him for size. He's a massive dude. He's 6'5", has an 82-inch reach compared to Ikram Aliskerov, who's 6 feet tall with a 76-inch reach. But there's a limit to that, you know? Like, we saw the Jesse Butler versus Brad Katona shit. There's a limit to that. There's a limit to that size advantage. Now, at a heavier weight, that size advantage is pretty important, but it's not like Ikram won't be able to one-shot Antonio. Like, what are we talking about here? I think it's tough to pick Antonio here. I have to go with Ikram Aliskerov. And moving on to the main event of Alex Perez versus Tatsuro Taira. Going with Tatsuro Taira, man. I see a lot of people backing Alex Perez. He's coming off of a brutal knockout win over Mateusz Nicolau, whose chin has been cracked. We know that now. His chin is completely gone. Tatsuro Taira, on the other hand, has shown to be another one of those, even more so than like a Joshua Van, a legitimate young prospect, getting better and better with every fight, and already has an extremely strong fundamental skill set, specifically grappling. And I think that's actually going to be what determines this fight. I think Alex Perez has fought decent and good grapplers before, but Tatsuro Taira is actually nice with jiu-jitsu. He's actually skilled with grappling. He knows techniques. You know, he goes for finishes. He works people. Also, a bit of a size advantage for him as well. A 1-inch size advantage in terms of height. Tatsuro Taira is 5'7", 24 years old. He does have a 70-inch reach, though, compared to Alex Perez, who is 32 years old, 5'6", with a 65.5-inch reach. Taira Taira coming into this fight with 15 wins, no losses as a professional fighter, with 5 of those wins taking place in the UFC. Alex Perez, 25-8 as a professional, 7 of those wins, 4 of those losses taking place in the UFC. Alex Perez could definitely win here. He definitely could. I'm actually interested in seeing the odds for this. If you will excuse me for one moment. Taira Taira, confirmed upcoming bout. Let's take a little peek. You know, and the losses that Alex Perez had, they weren't against schmucks, you know. Lost to Davison Figueiredo to start off a 3-loss streak. But this was also years ago. Got subbed by Pantoja, champ. Got subbed by 2 champs. Out of the 3 dudes who have beaten him in the past couple years, 2 of them became champions. One of them, people are assuming, will at least make a run towards it. Let's see. Edgar Chavez didn't, I mean, he didn't get, like, molly-whopped by Taira Taira. He basically did, though. Carlos Hernandez, that gave me decent pleasure when he got KO'd. That was a good win, actually, low-key, because he's not dog shit. A lot of people think that Taira Taira is going to smoke him, low-key. And he's a moderate favorite. I think that's fair. I think that's very fair. Yeah, I'm going with Taira Taira, man. Very confident in him. Massive momentum coming into this fight. But Alex Perez does have decent momentum, too, coming off of a nice, brutal knockout win over Mateus Nicolau. We'll have to see. I hear some people saying, oh, man, like, you know, I hope Taira gets fraud checked. People are starting to destroy the term fraud check and just say that when it's like an up-and-coming dude losing. Like, 5-0 in the UFC, 15-0, trying to break into rank. Is Taira Taira ranked? Was he ranked after that? Like, if a dude is in the rankings, is he a fraud anymore? That's not, like, that's past fraud. Like, what the fuck are you guys talking about? Like, Taira Taira. He is ranked number 13 in the world. Okay. So Taira is ranked number 13 in the world. How the fuck is, and he's 5-0. How the fuck is he a fraud? How the fuck would that be a fraud check? That's just a loss. It's a normal loss. Going crazy over that shit. Jesus Christ, born in 2000. Kill me. It's fucking insane, man. It's fucking insane. I'll run back over the picks one more time, and then I shall let you go. I feel like this one was actually a nice little rambled-off video. Will it be around 30-40 minutes as usual? I will be interested. Please ignore the fruity steam that I'm about to consume. Hitting the fruity steam and then going for a run. Jesus Christ. Because that's what I am doing after filming this, but... Okay, first off, we're running with Shayilan Nuerdanbieke, man. And how do we think he gets it done? You know, I guess that's the little tradition now. At the end, we got to give method of victory for the... Jesus Christ. We got to give method of victory for these things. Shayilan Nuerdanbieke versus Melquizael. How about you make him quit? I don't think you will... I actually don't know how that one's going to win. So, if I don't know, usually I'll go with KO TKO. KO TKO for Shayilan Nuerdanbieke. He could actually hit that. Let's say round 3. Round 3, all the way at the end. Maybe it's a closer fight than it's expected, but then Shayilan is able to get that juicy little combination in and finish that fight. Josefine Knutsson. I'm not going to say what's on my mind. I'm just going to say decision. I think that she will win by decision. Same thing with Gabriela Fernandez could win by submission here. Legitimately, Again, I could be completely wrong and fucking Carly Judy's walks through her like dog walks her on the feet, but hope that does not happen. Jesus Christ, man. I'm going to go with decision. I'll be safe here. Gabriel Fernandez to beat Carly Judy's by decision. Garrett Armfield to beat Brady Heistan by I think that'll be a war that might end in a decision. So I will go decision. Nate Maness I got by KO TKO. Unfortunately for Jimmy Flick in round 1. Joshua Van. Like I said, I do have him by KO TKO. But when does it happen? Does it happen in round 1? Does he hurt Nuerdanbieke with a combo like midway through, or maybe even in the latter half of round 1 and gets a late round 1 finish? Does he? I don't know if I see that, actually. I thought that vision was coming to me, but I don't know. I do not know. The KO TKO, I feel it. I feel it low-key. I feel it low-key. Joshua Van does need to build into it. Round 3 might seem to be the play, but we'll say it comes up unexpectedly in round 2. KO TKO for Joshua Van. Adam Fugit. I'll say decision. Because, like I said, I am worried about Quinlan's chin. We have to see if it got cracked. But he has a chin. As of right now, he has a chin. And power. But I think Adam Fugit will be able to survive, like I said, hold him down, control this fight. Take it by decision, if not submission or TKO via ground and pound. Asu Almabayev. I'm going to say he goes apeshit and picks up that sub. And low-key, maybe even in round 1, actually. Submission round 1 for Asu Almabayev. I'm bloodthirsty, man. I already have 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 finishes already up to this point. And I've consciously tried to put in more decisions. Jesus Christ, I'm just a tweaker. Douglas Silva de Andrade. I hope that he finishes this fight, but I'm going to go, just going to keep it safe and say decision. Same thing, Timmy Kwamba. Having a bit of a brain fart as oh yes, of course. Versus Lucas Almeida. KO TKO. We'll say KO TKO. Round 2 or 3. I feel a late KO TKO. I'm going to cheat on this one. I'm going to say round 2 or 3. Hopefully that's the case. Ikram Aliskerov, I got him. I don't know why I say Aliskerov. Probably by KO TKO, right? God, I'm fucking bloodthirsty, man. No, I'll say KO TKO round 1. Fuck it. And Tetsuro Taira. How does Tetsuro Taira get this one done? Shit. Both of these dudes are nice enough to where they really might have a problem finishing the other. So I am going to say decision. Because if Taira gets his game going, but maybe not to its fullest extent, it'll probably be a lot of control. I think it'll end up being a decision. Although I am hoping for a finish. And that is that. Possibly. Actually, you'll just see it in text if it's here. If there's nothing, ignore what I'm saying right now. I'm just chatting. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe. Like the video if you like it. Dislike the video if you dislike it. Please leave a comment. I always love to talk to the people, even though comments are fairly rare on this channel, but they come occasionally. And, you know, audiences, even though the views of the videos might not lead you to believe, slowly but surely growing, actually. You know, I'm fucking a bit of a plateau in some aspects, but possibly you can expect sneak previews, sneak peeks for new content soon. I'm working on a new video that is a far cry from any content that will have ever been hinted at on this page. I'm considering just maybe even scrapping it or extending it. As funny as that sounds, it's two opposite ends of the spectrum. That's enough, though. Rambled on enough. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you like these. Let me know your picks down in the comments. Thank you very much. As always, hold your loved ones close. Give them a big kiss. Wish for peace on earth for all mankind. Much love. As always, big kiss.